Hey everybody, how's it going? So last year I did a video reviewing all of the Best Picture nominations before the Oscars happened, so I guess I'm doing that again this year. Although I have to say last year it was about half of the nominations that I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise, whereas this year there's only one film I hadn't seen yet and I was planning on checking it out at some point anyway. 2019 was actually a pretty good year for movies and there's a lot of competition. Anyway, this video also serves as a reminder that I will be live streaming my commentary to the Oscars as it takes place on Sunday, February 9th on my Twitch channel. I won't be streaming any footage for the Oscars, so you'll have to find your own way to watch it. But yeah, feel free to come join and laugh with me at the Academy potentially embarrassing themselves again, maybe. There are some films and artists that I feel were definitely snubbed this year, but first, I guess let's just talk about the Best Picture nominations. First, we have Ford v Ferrari, which I saw at Toronto Film Festival. This is a very well-directed movie with great production value. It's competent, it's mostly entertaining. The two main characters are fun to watch and have great chemistry. Many of the other characters, however, feel incredibly cartoonish and cliched. There are some fun and engaging sequences in this movie, but overall, it is way too long and kind of forgettable. It's pretty decent overall, even if it is kind of bland and predictable. I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. Next is The Irishman, which I really loved. It felt very much like Scorsese returning to his roots. There are great performances, great makeup and visual effects, great costume and production design. It was very entertaining throughout, and the long runtime did not feel unjustified. I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Yes, I'm going through these pretty quickly because I have already reviewed these on my channel anyway. Next is Jojo Rabbit. It was fun and well-paced despite feeling a little bit slow in the middle. It had a great style and energy to it, although at some points felt a little too derivative of Wes Anderson. I am just now realizing that Scarlett Johansson is nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this film, which is kind of weird. I mean, don't get me wrong, she was pretty great and all, but it was nothing compared to her performance in Marriage Story, which I guess she's also nominated for this year for lead actress. That's very interesting. Anyway, this movie was pretty solid and entertaining. It's no masterpiece, but it was a fun crowd pleaser, and I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Next, we have Joker, which is leading the Oscars right now with 11 nominations. It's a good movie, but that seems a little excessive. At the very least, Joaquin Phoenix definitely deserves the nomination for Best Performance, but the other ones, I guess it's debatable. I don't remember the score at all. The cinematography was decent. The screenplay was super derivative and overall just not amazing. Best Director Todd Phillips, really? Is this the Academy's way of trying to increase their viewership? They've clearly been trying pretty hard, which is why there's no host again this year. Anyway, I thought Joker was good. There are parts that are really cheesy and other parts that feel really stupid, but the core of the film is really just Joaquin Phoenix. It is more of a character and performance movie than anything else, and in that sense, it really succeeds. It is more of a Joaquin Phoenix movie than it is a Todd Phillips movie. If it wins Best Picture, I guess that would be kind of a fucking meme, but whatever. Before watching this film at Toronto Film Festival, I made sure to check out Taxi Driver for the first time, mostly because I heard that this film was kind of derivative of Taxi Driver, and I wanted to make sure that I experienced the masterpiece first. But as it turns out, this film is actually much more derivative of The King of Comedy, another great Scorsese film, but one that I wound up watching after Joker. And to be perfectly honest, after seeing The King of Comedy, I wound up bringing down my rating for Joker by 1 point. It really made Joker's story feel a lot less special and unique, and although of course there are still unique things going for this film, it made me realize that at least part of what I enjoyed about Joker was not really coming from the movie Joker itself. Anyway, like I said, it's a good movie. It would probably not be very much without Joaquin Phoenix, but he carries the whole thing, and that's what's most important, I guess. There are some fun and satisfying moments, it is overall entertaining, and I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. Next up is Little Women, the only film that I had not yet seen before this point. This is from director Greta Gerwig, who also directed Lady Bird in 2017. Now, she wound up getting a Best Director nomination for Lady Bird and not this one, but I personally feel as though she did a much better job with this film. Lady Bird was a nice, cute indie movie, but it honestly felt lacking in terms of directing and cinematography, but the presentation of Little Women is so much more professional and mature. Something I noticed about this film is that it had very coordinated staging. There are plenty of conversations that take place in this film that easily could have been presented in a boring or uninspired way, but instead often characters are moving about and performing various actions as these conversations are happening. It really brought a nice sense of life to the film. The movie had great costume and production design. The score for this film was noticeably great. The lighting was excellent. The framing was aesthetically pleasing. There are a few shots in this movie that look really beautiful. The technical aspects of this film were fantastic, but unfortunately I wasn't really all that invested in the story. Now take this with a grain of salt because I have a man brain, but I didn't really care about much of what was going on. I am not even kidding, the most interesting scene in the movie for me was when they showed shots of factory production. I was like, wow, that's a really interesting process. I never even thought about how that would have been made in the 1800s. So yeah, really great production from a technical standpoint, but unfortunately I just did not connect with the movie. It also probably didn't help that many of the actors felt like they were just the actors themselves, and this is especially true for Emma Watson. She's not really a character actor as far as I'm concerned, and simply performing with a different accent is not enough to convince me. Saoirse Ronan did a great job, but still it felt as though I was just watching Saoirse Ronan. Meryl Streep did a great job, and despite how many times I've seen her in other films, she still felt like a completely new character. I guess she's got enough Oscar nominations already, though. Timothée Chalamet's performance was also convincing, and I was able to feel the character instead of the actor. Florence Pugh also did a really great job performing her character, but I think she did a better job in Midsommar, which was also 2019. I would have rather seen her nominated for that, but I guess the Academy doesn't really like horror movies, so whatever. I guess I might as well bring up the controversy that there are no women directors in the Best Director category this year. Some people were saying that Lulu Wang should have gotten a nomination for The Farewell, although I would have to disagree with that, but a nomination for Greta Gerwig for this film would not feel out of place. Even though this movie was not really for me, the directing was pretty fantastic. I wonder if it would cause even more controversy for the Academy to gender segregate the directing nominations. I mean, they already do it for the actors, and you could argue that it would bring more attention to female-directed films, although I could imagine some people would be upset with the implication that male and female directors are doing two different jobs. I don't know, you figure it out, Academy. You don't pay me. Fuck you. Anyway, this was a really well-made movie, and I enjoyed it for the most part, despite it not really connecting with me on a personal level. Check this one out if you want. After all, there's a decent chance that it'll connect with you. And I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. It's closer to a 7 than a 5. Next is Marriage Story, which is my third favorite film of the year. I have now seen it twice. I have loved it immensely both times. The standout elements of this film are the performances and screenplay. Scarlett Johansson does an amazing job, and Adam Driver is also excellent. It's very easy to connect with the characters and story. It's incredibly thoughtful and nuanced, and you can always understand a character's perspective. It is a thorough and detailed story that covers every aspect that it should. Every scene feels justified. The score for the film is great. This is easily one of my favorite movies of the year, and you should all check it out. And I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. Next is 1917, which apparently a decent amount of people are upset at me over because I did not love the movie as much as they did. Now, to clarify, when I complained about the marketing of this film, it is not to suggest that it is the only thing that keeps this movie from being excellent for me. Part of what influences my rating for a film is the director's intent, and the marketing that I saw made the director's intent very clear for me. More importantly, the single-take gimmick that this film rides on did not really improve the film for me much at all. My main criticism is that at its core, it is a very cheesy, basic war movie, and no matter how much icing you add on top of that, it doesn't change what flavor of cake it is. The real-time single-take gimmick is the only thing that separates this film from any other basic war movie, and the fact that this element exists in this film where every single other element is just so incredibly formulated and cliched only winds up making the attempt feel a bit pretentious. I used to say that I don't say that word often. Maybe that's still true. What am I at now? Once a year, I guess, maybe? When I see a movie that puts that much effort into one element, I would rather the other elements of the film hold up in comparison. Otherwise, it just feels like the movie doesn't know what it wants to be. Do you want to be an art film, or do you want to be just another basic war movie? The one-shot real-time element implies that you're trying to make some sort of purposeful art, but every other element implies otherwise. The script was not great, and there was lots of goofy dialogue. The film was loaded with conveniences, and the overbearing music made it really difficult to take things seriously. Come on, even people that loved the movie know that the music was used inappropriately. Overall, the film just did not feel very genuine, and when I watch a movie, I'm looking for a genuine experience. If you got that out of this movie, then I'm glad you did, but unfortunately I did not. There's another film that came out in 2019 called The Climb that also used plenty of impressively coordinated long takes, but it wasn't the only thing that the film was riding on. It offered a truly genuine experience that I loved and connected with. It is absolutely insane that I apparently still have to say this, but you are not wrong for enjoying 1917, and I am not wrong for not loving it. I don't even think the movie is bad, I just don't think it's a masterpiece, all things considered. Anyway, you might be surprised to hear this, but I don't think Sam Mendes' Best Director nomination is unjustified. There are certain elements of this this film that are directed very well with a lot of effort put into it. I just personally don't feel as though all of the elements in this movie came together in a way that was exceptional. Anyway, sorry if you want me to have a different opinion, but I would rather be honest than pretend to love something that I don't. And I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10. It's closer to a 6 than a 4, I guess, if that makes you happy. Next is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the new Quentin Tarantino film. Now, I've only seen this film once, but I'm looking forward to seeing it again. Quentin Tarantino has set a high standard for his films, and this one does not disappoint. As usual, there's great directing, great performances, great music choices. It is a slower and more mature film than many others in his catalog, but I like that it separates itself in that way. If you want to hear my thoughts on the more spoilery stuff, then just click on the other video that I've already made on my channel. There's really no need to go into a lot of detail about this movie here. It's just a really great Tarantino joint. I'm excited to see it again, and honestly, I thought that I rated it an 8, but apparently I rated it a 7 and said that it's closer to an 8 than a 6, so I don't know. Maybe it's an 8. I don't know. I haven't seen it a second time. We'll find out when I see it a second time, I guess. And last but not least, there is Parasite by Joon-ho Bong. This is my favorite out of all of the Best Picture nominees this year. I think it is an absolutely amazing film. All of the performances are fantastic. The characters are lovable and relatable. The tone and story of this film offers a fresh and exciting experience. It is one of the most likable and easily accessible South Korean films ever made. If you show this to a person that thinks that they don't like foreign films, they'll probably still love it. The directing and cinematography is fantastic. The set design is absolutely amazing. There is no single weak element of this film, and everything works together incredibly well. This is a masterful film that everybody should see, so please check it out if you haven't already, and I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. Alright, now that that's all out of the way, let's talk about some other shit, I guess. So back in 2010, the Oscars changed the amount of Best Picture nominations from 5 to 10, and overall I think that that was a very good decision. But what confuses me about this is that every year after 2010, they've only had 8 or 9 nominations, so it makes it even more upsetting when something like Uncut Gems isn't nominated. I think it's pretty clear that the Academy hates the Safdie brothers at this point, and I don't really know why. A Best Actor nomination for Adam Sandler honestly would not feel out of place. Unfortunately, the Academy Award nominations are all just one big marketing game. These nominations are not really a reflection of the best films of the year. It is also a reflection of the amount of money spent in for-your consideration campaigns. And with A24 spending all of their money and efforts promoting Uncut Gems, it seems as though they forgot about other films like Waves. When I saw Waves, I truly thought that this would be Trey Edward Schultz's chance at the Oscars. It was incredibly well directed, the cinematography was mind-blowing at points, the performances were incredible and would not feel out of place at all in these nominees. So yeah, Waves definitely got snubbed, and that sucks. Would have been really nice to see Parasite get some acting nominations, but whatever, fuck it, I guess it's the Academy, they're not gonna do that shit. My favorite film of the year was The Lighthouse, and that got pretty snubbed. Again, the Academy doesn't like horror movies, and I'm honestly shocked that it got nominated for anything. It got nominated for cinematography, so that's a win, I guess. But Willem Dafoe's performance in The Lighthouse is easily my favorite all year, and he totally deserved a nomination for that. Another film that got snubbed was Cats, but again, I guess it's just because the Academy doesn't like horror movies. I'll be checking out some more nominations from other categories this year before doing my Twitch live reaction to the Oscars thing. I wound up seeing one film from the documentary category so far called For Sama. Basically, it's a documentary from a Syrian journalist that shows the war from a female perspective, and honestly, it was pretty great. There's a lot of crazy and disturbing footage in this movie, and it's very emotional. It does feel a little over-dramatized through the editing at points, but it is a very powerful documentary overall. Check this one out if you haven't seen it already. I give it a 7 out of 10 for now. Anyway, that's the only documentary that's nominated this year that I've seen, but my favorite documentary that didn't get nominated this year was 63 Up by Michael Apted. This is the newest film in a series where the director has been following the lives of its subjects since they were 7 years old every 7 years. It started with 7 Up in 1964, and then another film was made when they were 14, and then another film was made when they were 21, etc. Hey, look at me, I can do maths. Anyway, I've already covered this movie in another video, so I'll keep this short. They are each their own contained experience, so you do not need to watch all of the other films to get this one. I would highly recommend checking this one out. It is one of the most important documentary series ever. I love this movie, and I guess you could say it should have been nominated for the Academy Awards, and I don't know why it wasn't. There was maybe it was just some weird restriction or some shit. I don't know, there's a lot of rules. Anyway, I give this one an 8 out of 10. And to wrap things up, I guess I should talk about the animation category. I did not enjoy Toy Story 4. I thought the script was pretty bad. The animation's obviously incredible, but again, that's just icing. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is something that I am not interested in seeing. I I don't know much about Missing Link, but I guess it won the Golden Globe, so I don't know. Claws is something that I'll be checking out before the Oscars take place, and I Lost My Body was one that I did see, and I actually really enjoyed it. It is a much more mature film than I would expect to get nominated at the Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature. It's not perfect, but it did offer a genuine experience that I really enjoyed. Don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, it's on Netflix, so check it out, and also it's French, so do subs and not dubs. And I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. Anyway, that about wraps things up. I hope to see you in the comments section on Twitch, I guess, maybe when I do the live commentary for the Oscars on Sunday, February 9th. Link in the description. Come hang out. It'll be fun. There'll be an Adam and Pals edit of the Oscars commentary coming later, and if you haven't seen one of those, then check one of those out, because they're pretty funny, I think. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble about shit that doesn't matter. What do you think was snubbed? What do you... Leave your snubs in the comments section below. Leave your snubs. What do you think was snubs? Thank you. I love you guys. Bye-bye.